South China Morning Post, 10th of March 2023, China questions whether tracing the COVID-19 virus's ancestry is essential to stop the next pandemic. Millions died, and the global economy was destroyed when the coronavirus leaked from a Chinese biolab, which China must be made to answer for. After news broke last month that the U.S. Department of Energy had concluded in a secret intelligence report that the COVID-19 pandemic most likely originated from a Chinese laboratory, albeit with low confidence, there was a new explosion of media speculation regarding the origin of the disease. This change in the department's perspective, it had previously been split, led to a resurgence of discussion about the virus's beginnings. The virus's origins, possibly in horseshoe bats in China's southwest border regions, and whether it had escaped from the Wuhan Institute of Virology were hot topics in the media. Additionally, the scandal provided a new chance to demonize China's lack of accountability and fuel the US-China conflict. Only policy experts knew that the announcement came out the same week that formal negotiations between World Health Organization member nations began on a comprehensive new global treaty on pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response. The treaty will be finalized at the World Health Assembly in May next year. This accident was most likely just that. It also serves as a reminder that many conservative U.S. lawmakers are more interested in examining how a cunning China contributed to the spread of COVID-19 than they are in gaining knowledge that could help to safeguard us against pandemics. Many of these conservatives vehemently oppose the WHO's planned pandemic treaty because they believe it would compromise U.S. sovereignty over its health policies. The resurgence of lab leak theories also represents disagreements within the U.S. intelligence community regarding the causes of the pandemic, including possible embarrassment over the U.S. long-standing scientific partnership with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. While at least 4 other government organizations and a national intelligence group have determined with low confidence that the COVID-19 virus likely originated in nature, the FBI and the Department of Energy favor the lab leak theory. 3 years after COVID-19 first surfaced, organizations like the WHO appear to have given up on knowing with certainty where it originated. However, a WHO spokesman said last month that the origin needs investigating, and China must provide access and info for this to happen, and if this doesn't happen, efforts to understand the origins will remain rather stymied. Vanity Fair's thorough investigation, which was released in June 2021, came to the following conclusion: China bears responsibility for obstructing investigators. It is unclear now and likely never will be whether it did so out of simple authoritarian habit or because it had a lab leak to cover up. Even though this may be upsetting, post-mortem findings should no longer be a top concern. Instead, we must take as many lessons as possible from this experience to lower the likelihood of pandemics in the future and guarantee early containment. It doesn't matter where COVID-19 came from, a lab leak or a natural sideswipe, as both were credible sources, and we must constantly remain vigilant to guard against either threat. The loss of international cooperation and confidence, crucial to averting or reducing potential pandemic threats, is a more significant cause for concern. The end-to-end health security ecosystem at the center of the WHO's pandemic treaty has many components, including improved surveillance, global early warning systems, rapid information sharing on new pathogens, increased authority for the WHO, more funding for international cooperative assistance, pandemic simulations, international training for health personnel, and global vulnerability mapping. Multilateral cooperation and confidence are necessary conditions for all of these actions. Cooperation between China and the United States, which is challenging given the terrible conflict, will almost certainly be crucial and lies at the core of all these imperatives. Over the past 3 years, Beijing has been its worst adversary by preventing or delaying access to crucial information. Additionally, by turning the pandemic into a weapon and using every chance to humiliate and demonize China, the US has caused harm on a global scale. Given the probability that China will continue to be linked to potential pandemic threats, the need for cooperation is even more crucial. This has nothing to do with its thriving wet markets, propensity for eating wild animals, or enormous populace. China will continue to be a flashpoint on any WHO vulnerability map for years. China will continue to be a flashpoint on any WHO vulnerability map for years. China will continue to be a flashpoint on any WHO vulnerability map for years. It is because people in much of rural China pursue wild animals and live near domesticated animals like ducks, chickens, and pigs, which increases the risk of the spread of zoonotic illnesses. The threat of exposing the larger population to novel viruses is increased because recent rapid urbanization has disturbed people of animals that were once remote. It may never be known whether the sudden resurgence of discussion surrounding lab leaks coincided with the WHO getting to work on drafting a legally enforceable pandemic treaty. But it has almost definitely complicated matters for negotiators who already had to deal with a year of delicate consideration. So let's be explicit about our priorities. To start preventing the next pandemic, we need to understand how this one began.